Good morning. Happy Saturday. So we're out here in the main garden right now. We got to check on this corn. I know it really broke ground about 3 days ago, but really all of them that are going to come up are up now. Everything's pretty much, 99% of them, 95% of them look really good. A couple, I've already lost just a few of them. I know they're hard to see right now because I didn't water yesterday. The ground's kind of dry. Let me get you down a little closer. You see, there's one right there. We're losing that one. And that's probably from grubs. We had a bad problem last year with Japanese beetle grubs. We probably lost about 5% of the whole crop last year to Japanese beetle grubs. And here, this one is because you see something dug right there. Our drip tape keeps moving around, as the temperature of the day changes, these drip tapes will move around. If you don't have one, have a landscape pin every several feet, or they'll move around with the heat of the day. So this first 9 rows, that is all a new variety I'm trying called Seminole XR. And like I was saying the other day, it's a new variety, and what's really neat about it is it has a super long harvest window. It can be ripe, reportedly, it can be ripe on the stalk for 10 days to 2 weeks before you really have to do something with it. Now, I think that would be extremely pushing it. I like to harvest my corn as soon as I can, but of course that's always because we've had corn varieties with very short harvest windows. Like I was saying, those first 9 rows, that's all Seminole XR. And this last row was, I believe it was peaches and cream. I just ran out of seed. I didn't order enough seed. And actually, I didn't order enough seed to put 2 seeds for every planting location here. So we're gonna have to go back in and fill in with something else. I'm probably gonna get a really early maturing variety, like a 65, 70 day corn, and fill in some of these blanks where we've already lost some. Now, I don't know whether a bird pulled that one out or if it just never came up, or it could be that, grubs killed that one underground. But we did have a bad problem last year with Japanese beetle grubs killing these little seedlings. So we're gonna do something about that today. Of course, it's time to put out a little blast of nitrogen to help these seedlings on their way. So I got a new product, and it's organic, it's BT, but it's in a granular form. You put it on the ground and let it seep down into the layer where the grubs are living and doing the damage. So for today's video, we are going over insect control for those Japanese beetle grubs and adding some nitrogen. Now, I had the University of Florida do my soil sample test analysis, and they told me that I was high on everything except nitrogen. So we don't need to put out, when we top dress or side dress, we don't need to put out any potassium or any phosphorus, just nitrogen. And we were high on the boron, magnesium, zinc, all of that. We were great. So all we have to do as far as nutrition goes is add some nitrogen. So we've made that decision that we're going to try our best to do everything completely organic again this year, which we have been doing. It's always worked out well. It's never been any sort of a handicap for us. So I'm going to show you 2 of the products that you can use to be completely organic, or that we're going to use to be completely organic. And I'm going to show you one that's a special mention. So first off, we have blood meal. Pretty much everybody's familiar with blood meal. And all this is, and it does stink. I think certain brands are less stinkier than others, but this is a really stinky one. This was a kind of a no-name brand. I ordered it in bulk. It came in 50-pound bags. And blood meal, all that is it's dried blood that's ground into a powder form, and nothing could be simpler. It's 21% nitrogen, so it's really high, but the downside of using it is it might be an upside. It's a very slow release. You have to put it in the soil, and then you have to allow time for the microbes in the soil to break that nitrogen down and release it back into the soil as a form that's usable by the plants. Your second 100% organic form of nitrogen is a fast-acting nitrogen. As soon as you wet it and put it on the soil, it's available for the plants. And a lot of people use it through their fertigation systems. You inject it in liquid form into the irrigation system, so the plant, the minute that drop of water hits the root system, it's uptaking nitrogen. And that is called, the old name for it is Chilean nitrate. The lab name for it is sodium nitrate. And it is 16%. It's 16% available nitrogen. And like I said, the great thing about it is it's a fast-acting nitrogen. But since it's a fast-acting, it is easy to overdo it with it. Also, the other downside to it is it's a sodium product. It's sodium nitrate. So it's a nitrate of sodium, which means it's salty. You would want to have your soil test done and make sure that your soil's not already too high in sodium before you use this product. If you're not high in sodium or you're low in sodium, it'd be perfectly safe to use this sodium nitrate, Chilean nitrate, on your garden, and you'd be being completely organic and you would not be harming your soil, microbes, bacteria, etc. if you use it according to directions, the proper amount. Now, the honorable mention that I talked about is kind of a cousin of sodium nitrate, and that is calcium nitrate. That's this product. Now this product is 15.5% nitrogen, so it's has just as much nitrogen as the sodium nitrate, but it has one added benefit. It is 19% calcium, as this is nitrate of calcium instead of nitrate of sodium. So you would be not only giving nitrogen to your plants, you'd be giving calcium to your plants. And as we know, almost every fruit and vegetable needs a notable amount of calcium in its system to form good, healthy, firm fruit. Without calcium, you get, number one, you end up losing a lot of fruit to blossom end rot. And number two, if you're low in calcium, you'll end up with soft fruit that don't form properly, and they, break easily, have thin skins, et cetera, et cetera. So the downside to using this, it's kind of a downside, is it's not really organic. Now, this is mined out of the earth, just like sodium nitrate. Sodium nitrate is mined out of the earth. It's ground into a powder or a granular or prill form and bagged up. That's it. Calcium nitrate goes through an additional step. So OMRI will not lend its listing to calcium nitrate because it's not just mined out of the earth and bagged. It's mined out of the earth, it goes through another chemical process, and then it's bagged up. So while technically it's not an OMRI organic, it's really close. It's just kind of got beat out by a technicality. So I have used this in the past, but since I have made the decision to go completely organic for the third year in a row, I'm going to go ahead and use the sodium nitrate, the Chilean nitrate, but I did my soil test and I do not have an abundance of sodium in the soil. So we're also going to put down the blood meal. We're going to go ahead and put down the blood meal. We're going to sprinkle it, we're going to top dress and side dress with the blood meal, and then we're immediately going to wet our sodium nitrate in solution and pour it on top of the row, and that's going to help start the process of breaking down the blood meal. Then in a few days, when our corn gets a few inches on it, we're going to go ahead and hill that corn up, and what that'll do is it'll bury that blood meal, and then the microbes can start breaking it down so that it's available for the corn to take up. So that's our nutrition. I want to introduce you to a great, fantastic product that many of you have used in different forms. If you recall, watching some of the other videos, last year we had a terrible problem with Japanese beetle grubs. We probably lost about 5% of the whole crop because those little beetle grubs would come right up to the kernel. As the kernel was putting out roots, those beetle grubs would find those kernels and just eat those roots right away, and then the little corn seedling would just fall over. We lost a bunch like that. Now we've already lost a few to that. And truth be known, we should have done this 2 weeks before we planted, but I hadn't heard about this product yet, and I didn't know about it, so I've ordered it. It just came in yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. Now, what we used in the meantime was milky spore. I ordered, after I had the bad problem with the Japanese beetle grubs, I ordered milky spore, which is a time-honored way to get rid of Japanese beetle grubs. But it's very slow acting and you have to use a lot of it. This is a new product. called Grub Gone G. Evidently there's a Grub Gone and then this is Grub Gone G. So what this is BT. You've heard of Bacillus thuringiensis. Bacillus thuringiensis. Everybody's heard of that. It's BT thuricide. You typically mix it with water and spray it on your plants, and then any kind of caterpillar or worm that's chewing on your plants will ingest the BT and pass away. This is the same thing. So this is a granular form of BT. You put it on top of the ground and you either irrigate or rainfall washes it into the soil, and the number one pest it attacks is any kind of chewing caterpillar type insect, worm, a grub. So this is the number one way to get rid of any of your underground grubs. So since we had a bad problem with it last year, I'm gonna go ahead and use this. Even though we already put out the milky spore, we really don't know how effective it's been. I'm gonna go ahead and use this. So with that, we're gonna go find our sprinkling can and we're gonna get our dibbler, our little dribbler to put out the, no, I'm sorry, we're gonna use our chest mounted spreader. Put out the grub be gone, and then we'll get our watering can and we'll melt our sodium nitrate. We'll dissolve it in water and we'll put that down the rows. Now, if you're very familiar with your spreader, you shouldn't have too hard of a time deciding on settings. I'm pretty familiar with this old spreader. Just want to make sure that your rows overlap. You don't want to leave anything. You don't want to leave any patches that don't get the chemical. That'd be nice if it rained. We could water all of this in. Won't have to just rely on what we're about to put out with the sprinkling can. We'll go ahead and put out some blood meal. That's why I didn't show the bag earlier. It's a no-name bag. I buy it in bulk. So I did the math, and the proper amount of this blood meal to put out for a 35-foot row in my garden, based on the soil analysis, is a half a pound of blood meal per 35-foot row, and a half a pound just equals right out to be about a pint. And so I just really try to gauge it so that this pint makes it to the end of the row. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but it's pretty good. Yeah, I got a little extra left in this one, and I was a little lighter at the beginning, so I'll come back, put out the rest of it on this end. You know, one of the risks you run using blood meal in your garden is cats and animals. They smell it and they will start digging to try to find the source of that smell. Usually, they won't dig up everything. They'll dig up a few areas and they'll realize, well, there's nothing there to be eaten, and they'll leave it alone. So, again, just like the granular, I did some math and I came up with the exact amount of sodium nitrate, the Chilean nitrate, to put out per 35-foot row. So it's 35 plants in a 35-foot row, is a half a cup of sodium nitrate for the 35-foot row. And it suggested 10 gallons, but I don't want to walk down each row twice. So I'm going to dissolve a half a cup of Chilean nitrate into 5 gallons of water. And that does melt very fast. It's very water soluble. It's already dissolved. I still feel a few grains in there. Yeah, all the grains are gone now. It's completely dissolved. Protect your skin too. All right, so that's 4.5 gallons. I think we have some lime or scale buildup. Well, that's better. Maybe there's just some leaves inside there. That's probably what it is. So I'm going to turn around and go back. Hopefully when I get to the end, back to the other end, this will be empty. And I like doing it like this. I like doing it like this, or by fertigation, putting the Chilean nitrate right in the irrigation system. And I have it kind of set up. I had it set up to do that last year, but when we had that frost a few weeks ago, a bunch of my fittings and pipes broke, and I just haven't got around. All right, so that took 3 passes. So I'm either gonna have to do 3 passes, or I'm just gonna have to really slow down. And that blood meal is already attracting a ton of flies. All right, fill her up. All right, that's the end of that task. Well, that chore's done. So there's all 10 rows of corn. I got them watered for the day. We fed them with a slow release nitrogen, the blood meal. We gave them a quick release nitrogen, source of nitrogen that's still completely organic in the sodium nitrate. And we put out the BT granular for worm control. So that was a little time consuming. I would really have much rather had it done in an automated system like fertigation, but at least it's done, and that gives me plenty of time to fix my fertigation system, because I probably won't have to fertilize again for another at least 3 weeks when it's knee high. So that's it. Thanks for following. If you have any questions about the products I used, or how much I used, or where I sourced them, just drop me a comment. I'm happy to share that information with anybody. No gatekeeping here. All right, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for following. If you like the channel, please subscribe. It'd be much appreciated. If the video was helpful, give it a like. Thanks. Happy gardening, everybody. Happy homesteading.